Dieter and Hutch clogging up the middle and keeping our jobs here on a Tuesday short week, Jake. Niners are going to play Saturday night, which should be to the surprise of absolutely nobody, seeing as for the last 5 years of the NFL playoffs, the one seeds play on Saturday. Not a new thing. You can say that it's unfair, but it's not a new thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the NFL should probably make strides to at least having teams all on similar rest in the playoffs just to get the best product. You disagree.
Yeah.
I would just personally like to see teams all get 7 days of rest. I know it's an extra day of advantage for the one seeds, which I'm fine with them having an extra advantage. I just think, generally speaking, in the games that matter most, I would prefer teams to have the best chance to compete. But, you know, the broadcasting deals mean that's never going to happen. So,
no, I don't even think it's that. I think it's strictly, some teams, you're coming off a bye. Why do you need to wait until Sunday off of a bye? You just gave them the bye. There's only one bye team. So somebody, unless the seeding works out perfectly, some team is probably going to have to play on Sunday. So who do you give the advantage to? The team that was the 6th seed who, now we're on a short week. Isn't that so unfair? You're the 6th seed. You don't get any say in this matter. Or are you going to give the 1 seed the Saturday? Are you going to give the 1 seed an extra day of rest on Sunday? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So it is simply, if you don't like it, you should have done something about it. And I can tell you this, a good cogent argument against this would be if you felt, and perhaps I think with your case, you do feel this way, that you want the best possible product. I would say that if the Niners were in the situation where Seattle was coming in on a short week, I don't think any tears would be shed. It wouldn't feel like an injustice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think from a fan perspective, it's always like, well, like if you're
Sucks
the team
to be
that's
you.
got the 1 seed, sucks for you.
Yeah.
I just personally wish the NFL made a little bit more of an effort, but I get it. It's the schedule's weird. They get paid an insane amount of money, and they will continue to do things that pay them money, like create terrible jersey matchups in key situations because money.
I mean, yeah.
Have you met Money, folks?
Well, we haven't. That you can help us by becoming a subscriber to the channel. Right. By the way, we're members only on the chat from this point on. Luckily, we've had an influx of external influence in recent weeks, both with SICKOS, yes, but also with just absolute lunatic people coming into the comments section. So we're locking it down, and this is a playoffs are members only. That's how we're doing it from this point on, and it might stay that way. A perk for all of our great members, and of course, the main perk of being a member is that you're going to get that thick old draft guide, that thick one, where I've already started doing a little bit of work here, Jake, as I was texting you beforehand, just kind of looking in the future and what the 49ers are going to need. But we'll save that topic of conversation for another point in time. We got some news to get to, both league-wide and local. Let's start with the big news today locally.
Jordan Addison has been arrested again. Oh, sorry. Were we going to talk about something else?
Knucklehead.
That's the only thing. I heard was Charles.
This guy's a knucklehead. He's out here in the Hard Rock Casino.
I've never heard that before. That was incredible.
I got to go to Barkley.
Wow.
I've spent a lot of time with Barkley, and
Dita, I think you're drinking too many beers.
And he was right, but he also paid for them.
Talk about the women in Tallahassee.
San Antonio, they all look like they're eating too many churros.
Okay, thank you. Let's go. It was terrible. Fred Warner's practice window is now open, and before y'all get a little too tight in your trousers, they're not going to play him this week. This is for next week, maybe. Which, by the way, next week is a maybe. So maybe. As Kyle said, I'm going to do what the doctors tell me. You can't always think with your heart. And as soon as he's ready, it will be zero decision on my part, as in he's playing. So coming off one of the best linebacker games I've seen the 49ers play in recent years, we're going to toss in old broken Fred Warner, huh?
I think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think that's the only way he plays. I mean, I don't know, because clearly he would be willing to sacrifice his own life to play on in the NFC Championship. But I mean,
I have
for
no
as
idea.
quickly as it's been, that's an insane timeline, and he's a guy you invested so much into. I know it's the playoffs, and I
Yeah.
like you get back, and if he can play, great. But like, I don't know. I'd want to be very, very, very sure that he's not going to re-injure that thing.
Yep. Well, that's why you ask the doctors. And I do believe that when this first went down, and there was some, I thought, kind of ridiculous, unhinged speculation that he could return late in the year, which clearly has been somewhat of the case. He is, as the kids would say, built different. He's not of this mortal coil. So,
Correct.
listen, if they say he can play in an NFC championship game, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I to stop them? I am not a medical doctor, nor do I pretend to be one. I am, however, an electrician, an official union electrician, so I can speak about substations.
It's either going to be in the freezing dirt in Chicago.
Yeah, that'll be a mud pile. Or
it will be on the turf in LA. So you'll feel bad about it either way.
Yeah, not ideal. Couldn't be that beautiful. What do they got? They got the red light therapy thing going on for the grass.
Oh yeah, the
at
49ers
Levi's.
have a crazy system for maintaining their grass
I think it's
after it
pink
was
light,
terrible
actually.
for years.
They got
Pretty
grow
cool.
lights on wheels, and they're just out there all the time.
Sometimes I've gone out there and I've seen Jed York just staring open-eyed into the pink LED lights.
It's not helping his hairline. He thought it would also grow
Okay.
the hair back. Sorry, I had to do it. By the way, as much shtick as we've given Jed York, because he's a billionaire who inherited it, and you can get a little bit of shtick along the way. Good on him. That's good ownership. In George Kittle goes down, first guy to meet him down in the locker room. Jed York gets him a whole bottle of tequila. I drink it too.
Yep. Well done. Well done.
That's
Ownership is about doing rich guy things that make everybody feel good.
Yep.
And that's a good rich guy thing. So good job.
Very good rich guy thing. If you got the means, by all means, do it. Walk through practice today. They'll see how they feel tomorrow. They're only in the building for 3.5 hours today. Usually they're in for 7. So they're giving them some time after that game, and this being the short week. Usually Tuesday's their day off, so they're playing it as they see it. Let me give you the practice report, even though they didn't really practice. D. Winters, Luke Gifford, and Jair Brown, no walkthrough, no practice. Whereas limited, we got Ricky Pearsall, limited. Hey now. Dominic Pooney's got an ankle thing. That's something to maybe keep a slight eye on. Trent obviously isn't practicing today. Keon White, who hasn't practiced in a minute, is not practicing today. And Yetur Gross-Matos, who never practices, is also not practicing.
Shout out Keon White, who's just been
good,
going through hell and is just playing and not like a couple snaps.
Nope.
Like really crucial snaps, going full force, taking on double teams. What an acquisition. Yeah.
One other thing to note from Kyle's presser, at least as it stands here, is there is a weirdness to the fact that Seattle has not played a game in between playing the 49ers. It hadn't dawned on me until Kyle's like, what's changed for them? They've seen 70 more plays of us, as if they don't already know everything that we do all the time. I just hadn't calculated that they're playing a baseball series against the San Francisco 49ers week 18, 2 playoff caliber games, one literally, one figuratively. Whereas the Niners, they had to go to Philly and do this thing, but it is somewhat bizarre. I couldn't even begin to tell you the last time something like that's happened, but I think it makes this short week all the more palatable for the Niners. And it's like, I don't know, we just watched it.
It feels like the 49ers, it was like a double elimination tournament, but then they went down to losers bracket. Now it's a finals game where whoever wins goes through.
Right.
But it is bizarre. You're right. I think it's fascinating that the Seahawks are just sitting there and watching and going, all right, well,
we just did it.
Same game plan. Maybe Sam. Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Maybe
don't do
play
that
a little better.
Yeah. Maybe don't put it on the ground or kind of want to throw interceptions. But I do think that maybe highlights something that I'm sure we'll talk about when we get into the film breakdown on Thursday, which is a lot easier for us, again, because we haven't watched anything but this Philly tape in between. So it's all very fresh on everybody's minds on what happened, for better and for certainly worse, given the circumstances of that game for the 49ers. But like, there's no mystery. They're division rivals. They play twice every year. I guess there was some weirdness in the fact that they played week 1, week 18. And so there was some separation there,
Even
but
though
it's
it
not.
didn't look that different for being like that far off. Like usually teams change a lot, and these teams, I feel like, besides injuries for the Niners, like,
well, and
similar.
I would say besides injuries for the Seahawks too, because they don't have Emanwari in that game. Now you have Emanwari in this second matchup, and it's like, oh, that's a big difference. That's a big change. And obviously that would maybe be the thing amongst all the other stuff we'll focus on as this week progresses. Like, that's a thing that really stands out to me. You know, Seattle's entire defense is predicated on, we have more versatile athletes than you, and we're going to beat you man to man with these versatile athletes. And so you're putting Devin Witherspoon and Neiman Wari in the box and splitting them out. You're moving them all around. Well, the Niners are now down one of their 2 vital versatile athletes without having George Kittle. So I don't know. I don't know. Kyle, and by the way, I guess the good news here is, okay, week 18, you're probably not holding back any punches, but you're sure as hell not doing it now, seeing as we just saw Juwan Jennings throw a touchdown. But like, where you're at with the team that you have, Kyle has to have reams, binders full of cool, interesting plays that they can add in, because they don't have to really change that much from the last time they went about it. They just have to execute it significantly better. So this practice, like, let's toss in 2 or 3 more trick plays that we can bust out here. And I'm just going to call it right now. This might come across as the dumbest prediction ever made on this show. I think we get a fake special teams play. I
love it.
I think it's a fake punt week for the 49ers.
I love that. I think Shanahan would have to be incredibly dire to do that, and I think this is a game that could force him to do. It's also like no one is even remotely preparing for the 49ers to run a fake. Now that we put it out there,
they've literally never done it. The only time they've run a fake punt, Mitch did it himself, and it was called back by penalty.
That was devastating. Real quick.
Yeah.
I would like to know the quantity of coffee that is being consumed this week by the coaching staff, as well as the number of unanswered wellness checks from their respective spouses. It is going to reach an apocalyptic high this week, and I cannot fathom what that looks like.
To quote Kyle Shanahan, we've been in a hole for 7 months. We're going to need to not see each other pretty soon. That's it. I mean, at least Kyle's shaving this year. Last year, he didn't shave, which we actually, so I believe yesterday was the anniversary of Sean McVay getting hired by the Rams. He and Kyle are now the second longest tenured coaches, along with the other Sean in Buffalo, behind Andy Reid, with everybody getting fired, which we'll get into here in a moment. But obviously Shanahan a little bit older than Mr. McVay, who was hired at age 30 and is now not even 40 years old. But McVay doesn't look like he's aged a second in 9 years. And Kyle Shanahan is the poster child for the new belief that you age dramatically at 44.
Well, because Kyle's been sleeping in an underground substation, whereas McVay has been on the beach for a decade. And he also has Matt Stafford as his quarterback.
That would help. Not going through a Trey Lance-like saga, going from Jared Goff, which is tough enough as is, but not the worst place, to then being like, let's just trade him for Stafford. That will put you in a pretty good spot. So there's a lot of open jobs, though.
There are. Should we talk about that briefly? We will leave comments to the end. We see you.
We see you. We love you.
Them. Let's talk about those openings, and then let's talk about CJ West and all the things we loved from the Eagles game.
Yeah.
Or hate it.
Let's start with the fact that Tony Patullo, that's his name, right? Patullo?
Kevin.
Kevin. Who's Tony? Well, he's a Patullo in for a new job.
Not fired, which is arguably worse. It's not because you keep your job. It's not worse, but he's demoted. He has lost the position, but has not been fired from the staff.
They Sorensen him?
And it seems like, unlike Sorensen, like he'll probably just stick around quietly.
That's the Bobby Evans play where they fire you as GM, but you're just still there.
Right.
That's fun.
Hey, you can take on another role. Just stop doing as much.
Not
because
not that one. I will note, before we get into the Philly stuff, it's very hard to take a team that had our friend Kevin as their offensive coordinator because he was just not good at that job. But I did notice as the game progressed on the All-22, and you get the wide angle, why is Big Dom standing where the head coach should be?
Because he is the head coach.
I know that's a joke, but like I'm starting to wonder if that guy's actually the head coach. He has a headset and he is standing in the middle of the sideline, like in the perfect place that the head coach should be on every snap. He's the only guy mind you, he is much more massive than any other person on the sideline, including the defensive tackles. But that's so weird. And it's been weird, and I don't think it ever really dawned on me until I'm like, it looks like he's the head coach of the team.
I think he is.
Okay.
I think he is. And it's also like, I mean, what does Sirianni really have to? It's just,
The chief vibes officer of the worst vibing team in all of football.
he's just on TikTok.
Just eating a hoagie. during a
Just
play.
commenting. He's pre-ordering sandwiches for halftime. He's like, I got our lunch order.
I'm on hold on WIP right now. Okay, here are the open jobs in the NFL right now. 30% of the league has an open job. As we have said time and time again, not a great year for needing a new head coach. And yet all these teams are like, we got to get a new head coach. Steelers, Mike Tomlin quit today. He's going to probably go work for NBC. Ravens, Browns, Dolphins. Oh, by the way, Steelers, Ravens, Browns. The only coach that survives in the NFC North is Zach Taylor, who was the one who absolutely should have been fired, but his owner is too cheap to actually fire him because he's got a year left on his contract. NFC North.
Remember
AFC
that
North.
their scouting staff for the Bengals is 2 people.
2 people. And even though that's become like a thing and everyone knows that now, they're like, no, we're good. We're good. And it worked out great with their first-round pick this year. We won't relitigate that. Dolphins is open, though it does seem as if Shula's grandson is going to take that gig. Titans, Raiders, Giants, Cardinals, of note, and Falcons are all open.
Oh, I forgot about the Cardinals and the Falcons. Oh, my God.
Do you think should the Cardinals just hire Jonathan Gannon back? Should they go ahead and Kyle Juszczyk this thing and be like, no, we were just kidding? Like,
Probably. I mean,
it's the Del Curry bit. Like, you don't want to be out
doesn't
on these
matter.
streets.
I mean, I guess it does matter. They could be theoretically. I don't know. It just feels like their quarterback situation until they get rid of Kyler. It's hard to know like what they're doing, where they're headed. They just feel like. And listen, they've stacked up a lot of talent. It's just they feel a little aimless and sort of in this like they need some clarity at the top to really define what their direction is. And like, I don't know how many people are going to be thrilled about working for one of the cheapest owners in sports.
Well, and it's not like he's going to be, opening up the checkbook to say, hey, let's bring in the best and the brightest. So, my goodness, a lot of open jobs to the point where Mike McDaniel's definitely getting hired. Like,
right.
Got
I mean,
fired
what is
from
that?
the Dolphins.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? 9 jobs?
30% of the league. 9 jobs. Unbelievable. Okay, let's talk 49ers and Eagles. A game that was really difficult to watch on the broadcast and really fun to watch on the All-22 in my estimation.
Agreed. Shout out Fox for being truly the worst network in so many ways.
I agree.
So many ways. Just, hey, show me a replay. No, absolutely not. And if you want a replay, it's going to be close up. You won't be able to tell what's happening. Just a brutal watch during the game, not being able to tell what's going on. My first takeaway, Bob throwing out quite a bit of man coverage, and 49ers corners did a good job. Now,
yes, they did.
the thing is, trying to extrapolate that for next week is difficult because, one, all of the Eagles players seem to want to die, and also we're running a lot of hitches and a lot of, how should I say, extraordinarily basic routes. That said, I was impressed with the 49ers secondary, aside from Malik Mustafa, who suddenly is like, I think, the pretty clear weak point in coverage, particularly like in any short area. Like he sets his feet too heavily, and then that first step, he can catch up in sort of long speed, but that short area. And yeah, okay, we'll take questions at the end, but like
This is a good one. Yeah,
this is a good question. Demo seemed like he was having a rough start to the game. He was.
he was.
He got beat quite a few times, but in the second half, I thought he was stellar.
Yeah.
He made up for that horrible run fit early on almost the exact same play, and he was really good in the second half.
Also, they put him on the boundary side exclusively, and because that offense was so simplistic, when they actually had to stop running all those hitch routes, it became pretty obvious. It's really tough when you have kind of overloads to one side and it's all hitch routes. So I am listen, Demo did not cover himself in glory in the first half. He rebounded in the second half, and he was really good against the run, and he was solid against the pass in the second half. Shamefully, I write most of my studs and duds column at halftime, and then I write like 1,000 words, and then I delete like 400 of them as it goes, because, hey, you can't be a stud anymore. You did a bad thing, or, hey, you can't be a dud. I did, when you're not getting replays in all 22, it is difficult to kind of discern how good he was. He was fine. And he was, outside of Mustafa, who is kind of flailing, if we're being honest. He was the weak link. I thought Green had a really solid game.
He was very good.
And clearly, we were back to sort of week one here, where Bob is putting it all on him. And Bob they played a lot of quarters, to be very fair. One thing that stood out to me, does Philadelphia have a single quarters beater play at all?
No, and it's funny because you see teams week after week after week say, hey, we're going to run a deep intermediary play to drag down the safety, because in theory, like the way it draws up with quarters is like, oh, like the whole deep part of the field is totally covered. It never works like that, because you draw the middle safety down and you make people make decisions, and then you have another route going over top, and really you end up with a one-on-one without safety help.
Right.
And it's actually very, very, very vulnerable in a lot of ways to that, because it takes like exquisite communication very quickly. And the 49ers have not been great at that while running a lot of cover 4.
It's wild, because, people were asking in the comments a couple weeks ago, like, how did the Rams put that many points on the Seahawks? And the answer was pretty straightforward. One, Thursday Night Football makes no sense. And two, dagger concept. They ran the dagger concept like 15 times in that game, and every single time the Seattle safeties made the wrong decision, and here comes Puka. For Kyle, it would be a Yankee concept, where on the opposite side, then you get that kind of crossover. Philadelphia just doesn't have those plays. I don't quite understand how you don't see cover 4 consistent. I'm sorry, I keep going on about the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's like, how on earth
wild.
In 2026, where quarters is the du jour coverage, do you not have a quarters beater? One of them.
It's funny how if you replayed that game 10 times, I actually think the Niners win most of the time.
Agreed.
Because I think we overestimated the Eagles' talent versus their level of wanting the season to be over and having such a horrific offensive coordinator that they would just sort of crumble. But if they had even Drew Petzing, who's like met the ire of Cardinals fans, they would win that game with Drew Petzing.
Easy.
Like if they had even a semi-coherent offensive coordinator who could look at a defense and say, they're not very good at that. Let's maybe try and attack that. I don't know if I'm going to dial every play up perfectly, but like they have a few weaknesses. Let's go at them. Just no ability to do that, and a quarterback who's like sort of hates everything about it and also kind of refuses to throw basic stuff over the middle of the field and just bails on the pocket constantly. And then he makes like 3 good throws and then the receivers drop him. So they had everything working.
Two things. One, Marquis Siegel comes in. You were of the mindset in the post game. I think that the tape really does bear it out, that it was his second defensive play. He comes in with about 2:50 to go in the second. And on the second play, they run a deep post to A.J. Brown. And he beats outside leverage. And Siegel turns and makes a beeline and is running right up the middle of the field towards it. And I do think Brown took a hesitation step because
Yep.
he knew that Siegel would get there sooner, and then it's a drop. So they didn't try that again. Like, it was there. They didn't try it again. And then to your point again in the post game, they run a quarterback draw, 2nd and 10. It goes for an easy 10. Hurts doesn't get touched until he's on the sideline, but because Landon Dickerson gets called for a hold against Jordan Elliott, which was, it was a hold by the letter of the law, but like a lot of shit goes in the playoffs. Like, you probably shouldn't call that. They're like, let's not do that again. Like, that's the kind of stuff that when we talk about Kyle Shanahan, which is just so night and day different, but we talk about Kyle Shanahan and like he's setting stuff up or he's seeing something that the defense does, and then that informs him to make a future decision. These
like
guys
the touchdown they scored with McCaffrey.
Right. These guys are getting clear indicators, and they're acting on the results, not the process. Like, that is the most damning thing you could possibly say about a coordinator, that it's like, well, that didn't work. It's like, yes, but it did. It did. You just need to adjust it a little bit. You just need to tweak it. But instead, you're like, well, that didn't work. I guess we can't do that again. And that's why he got fired.
By the way, Siegel, like, I think it was the first play he comes in. AJ Brown's blocking him. He just destroys AJ Brown and gets right through it for a run stop. Just as Shanahan admitted, like, he was fantastic. And
he was really good.
He's playing this week, regardless of anything. I don't think Jair's going to even be able to play. But
I'll throw something your way here. I'm going to again say that you were right. They have their answer. If Jair can go, he probably can't go full bore, and you probably don't want him in the open field. You play Jair at big nickel.
I completely agree.
That's because, again, this a lot of this is rehashing. I thought we had this game pretty well pegged on Sunday night, but like Siegel's ability to cover, the way he flips his hips open and explodes across the field, let's all pause for effect, is not something that they have had. And he does all the things that Jair does well, which is cover the flat and run stuff.
He's also fresh. It's like the same thing as Kendricks and Wallow, where like they don't have the wear and tear of all this. You have the ability to say, I feel good. Like, my body actually feels fine because I don't have the attrition of an 18-game season. I'm going to let it rip. The other thing I want to mention, you pointed out that like communication, a key factor with Jair.
Mm-hmm.
That is a key factor. And you go back to Fred Warner, and it's like, it's more evidence, not that we need it, but I do think it needs to be reminded that like Warner was just organizing and calling the entire defense. He was getting everyone at every single level organized on every single play.
Right.
And it's really hard to adjust from that. Not that anyone's ever going to be able to pick up that slack, but I think that's part of the reason there have been so many vulnerabilities in the secondaries. If you don't have like very loud talkers, and I get it. If they say like Jair's just the best communicator we have, I understand it from that angle. Again, I still think they had big nickel, and I would have rather seen Jair's big nickel than Pinnock and put Siegel back there. But anyway, the point is communication matters, and it will matter this week.
Well, I thought Kendricks was incredible at communicating in this game. I thought Garrett Wallow did a really nice job communicating. I believe that Kendricks called his communication crispy in the post game. And it looked that way. I saw both. I mean, obviously Kendricks has been around for a while. He knows it. They're running basic cover 4 stuff, like nothing that they're doing, though they did blitz 11 times in this game on pass plays. And 6 of them coming on first and second down. So Bob was getting a little funky with it, but I thought his communication was impeccable. He was moving dudes around. That's the kind of stuff that we really hadn't seen with Bethune. Right, kind of that authoritative voice. Winters is not going to be that guy because he doesn't know half the time. But Wallow, I saw a couple of plays like going and changing defensive line fronts and saying, no, you got to get out wider and this and that. Like, that's really impressive that those guys, Kendricks maybe more understandably so, that Wallow felt such a conviction to do it. I'm it was a kind of a running joke. Like, who the hell is Garrett Wallow? You mean 1T Garrett Wallow? He was outstanding. Like,
TCU
there was
legend.
I have no earthly idea. Now, I do question if that can continue against Seattle, because Seattle is a real mauling team downhill, whereas the Eagles' offensive line was embarrassingly soft in this game.
Yeah, they didn't get quite the push that you would have expected. They had a couple plays where they got movement, like Elliott got collapsed in that
What's
clip
new?
I posted where yeah, again, teams love run and duo at him, and I think they will do that. Gray Zabel's just but you also have Anthony Bradford, who's just horrific. I can't wait to talk more about him
Oh, don't
on
we?
Thursday because it's funny. It's like you've got 4 football players and then a guy who looks like he looks like Escalade from And One basketball. Anyone remember Escalade? I'm sorry. Disrespectful to Escalade.
I believe Escalade is no longer with us for what it's
I
worth.
know. That's why I say I apologize. It's disrespectful to Escalade because he was moving. He had some moves. He was light on his feet. Anthony Bradford, not so.
Not only do I remember Escalade, when you say Escalade, my first thought is immediately Cadillac. The second
Right.
one is him. I have the And One mixtape tour intro like ingrained in my head. So it wasn't just Escalade, it was Escalade in the white t-shirt going behind his back, and then the video stops and it goes
Yep.
all gold and it just says Escalade. And he's like,
I know
going-
exactly what you're talking about.
that is so deep in my head. That is the deep millennial cut that you might have just caught. So that's
Speaking of Escalade, let's talk about CJ West because this is our ongoing bit where whatever the title is, we're not going to get to for the first half hour.
We gotta
You
tease
have
him.
to know that at this point.
a little foreplay.
CJ West, do you want to start?
I love him so much. Like we're not rah. This is fun. Like that's not what we do. We try to be serious football minds. But I love him, and he's my favorite boy, and I just can't get enough of him. Like this is. I'm not gonna lie. There were some moments of doubt throughout the season that CJ West could be this level of consistently impactful when he's on the field. There were moments where it didn't feel like his very heavy, violent hands were available to him.
He also did have a hand injury.
Yeah, which, as I talked to him about, I'm like, wouldn't the club help? Apparently not. I'll just give you the numbers. This is from Nick Wagner, ESPN. Without 99 on the field, that would be CJ West. The Eagles ran for 4.5 yards per carry, 19 carries, 85 yards. That does include the Diamador Lenore collapse in on the end. The weekly defensive back doesn't realize you need to contain, and so they got a big run again. But still, 19 for 85 without CJ West on the field. Just West on the field. So West on the field, exclusive of nothing. 17 carries, 55 yards. That's 3-2. 99 and 95. Collins and West on the field together. 13 carries, 38 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. Robert Saleh is a bright guy. I don't know how he can't see this and how he can go out there and start Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis again.
I understand starting them because it doesn't really matter. It's like who finishes. And West and Collins have been finishing the game, and it's trying to keep them fresh.
I guess.
Because those guys do have utility, and you kind of have to play them. Just to piggyback off that, because I did on Twitter, I posted it. For my stats this year that I've tracked, and I will update it very shortly. Later today, I will have updated season-long grades for all these guys, and I've already graded it out. Which I'll get to in a second. But for weeks 2 through 18, CJ West had the second highest run win rate on the 49ers, only behind Mykel Williams, while having a 49% double team / chip rate, by far the highest on the team. The way he attacks double teams and the way you watch guys have like an expectation of, all right, we've run this play a million times. We know what it feels like to run it. And guys move at least a little bit, and then you watch him not move, and they go, oh, shit. It's incredible. And somebody asked about Collins and West versus Gray Zabel. And I'm not going to say he dominated Gray Zabel, but like there were points where I watched Gray Zabel in that game go, oh, who's this? I don't remember him from week 1 at all.
No.
He is – and here's the thing. Like he's not as consistent – in the pass game because he doesn't have a huge variety of moves, but when he gets one-on-ones, he's creating push. He's closing the pocket vertically, and he's smart. I watched him. He faced a double team at one point, and he went, I'm not getting home, and he ran to the flat to cover Saquon Barkley, and I went, he's got the mind, I mean, it's
The
hard.
mind, the body, the
Body,
spirit. This is a perfect man.
Unfortunately, there's some players we just get attached to, and we try and just be like, oh, he's a really good player. He's just a specimen. I
No,
love everything about his game, and he really is a crucial piece to any success they're going to have.
I remember this was very early in the draft process last year, and I pulled up Indiana film to watch somebody else, and I'm like, I forget when. I think he was 99 there. I could be wrong, but he was obvious, and I'm not kidding. I've been very lucky, very happily married. I've had some relationships beforehand. Once a year during the draft process, you get love at first sight. Just once a year, you know what that thunderbolt feels like, and you're just like, this is. I just remember being just head over heels for CJ West and being like, this is my guy. And so, yeah, you're right. We could absolutely be anchored, much like him, in this belief that he's this great player. But on a day where Marquise Siegel comes out of the shadows and looks incredible after 9 weeks of us being like, why aren't you playing him? You know what? I think we deserve a little bit of a victory lap.
Agreed. By the way, he was my highest graded player on the defensive line by far. The numbers he's putting up are outrageous.
Yeah.
Again, they will all be available for all of you sickos.
Do it.
But I remember going back to the draft where he was in the Shrine Bowl, and shout out the Shrine Bowl people who actually give you access to practice tape, don't have a weird complex about them like some former people who work for some other bowls. No longer there.
We're going to believe in the Senior Bowl this year. We're giving the Senior Bowl another shot.
But the Shrine Bowl, they provided tape, and you'd watch one-on-ones, and I was like, oh, this is CJ West. And you just watch him, destroying people. Literally, getting through them in 2 seconds.
Yep.
And that was, that was the pick where, they drafted Michael. We thought that was fantastic. Alfred Collins could kind of go either way. Then they draft Nick Martin. And you're like, oh, where are you going? And then it's Upton Stout, and you go, maybe a reach, but I kind of get it.
Yeah.
And then you get CJ West, and you're like, all right,
they know what they're doing.
It's a good draft.
Yeah, and
this is going to work out.
We'll get into the larger context of this, but if you just kind of look off of this defense moving forward, right? If we're thinking about 26, they're in a really strong position because West and Collins have separated themselves as clearly viable defensive tackles. And just looking at, the situation on the defensive side, let's just run through it real fast. Your defensive ends next year are Bosa, White, Huff, Michael, and Sam O, if you can keep them on restricted free agency. That's the best in the NFL. Sorry, I know there's a lot. Texans got a really good unit. I get it. But, you're not beating that. Keon White as a second stringer, that's absurd. Defensive tackle, you have Collins, you have West. Kalia Davis is a restricted free agent. So
it's just Collins and West and maybe Sebastian Valdez if you so choose.
Maybe. But you have that there so that you're not absolutely floundering. You have your starters for next year there.
I think they need an insane sort of wiggly guy who's got some flash, but
you need a Yetur Gross-Matos replacement that actually plays football. Linebackers, Fred, Winters, Bethune, and Martin. He's still on the team. So you're okay there. You could probably add there. And I would say you have to bring back Wallow, even with one game. You try to bring back Kendricks.
And probably bring back Gifford for special teams.
I agree with that. Cornerbacks, you're pretty good at corner. With Lenore and Green and Luter and Tomlinson, sure, you can upgrade, but you're feeling okay.
And also quietly, they still have Jacob Robinson, who's kind of impressive until he broke his hand.
Yeah, I have him as a slot guy behind Stout. That might be their strongest position.
I agree. I think you could definitely use another corner, probably day 3.
Yeah,
then
Siegel Mustafa Brown makes a lot more sense when Siegel plays. Their defense is in a pretty good situation moving forward, and we'll have a lot of time to talk about that. But just, again, they built this defense understanding that they were going to need some beef in the middle to make everyone's life easy. And the two rookies that they drafted, Collins still has his warts, don't get me wrong, but like I like Collins. I'll bet on Collins moving forward. I think that he gives you a good floor at this point.
I agree. And I liked him this week, especially.
Yeah, he was great. And West is just a consummate pro at this juncture. First year in, you just can expect West to give you that Puna Ford every week in, week out. So I'm actually very bullish on this 49ers defense moving forward. There will be a lot of questions. I think maybe we might be overreacting a little bit in the positive realm towards this Niners defense because the Eagles were so incompetent on offense, and we know that won't be the case even with the NFL's turnover leader in Sam Darnold at quarterback for the Seahawks. But again, if you're trying to stay big picture on this, I think that they're in a really good spot defensively moving forward. Again, Siegel unlocks so much in just actually having a free safety who is good. He's damn good.
I agree. Yeah, I think they're set up well on defense. You definitely need another defensive tackle. Could go safety. Definitely need to add to the secondary. Yeah. But like, it's funny. You really look at defensive end and you're like, we're actually in pretty good shape there for next year. You have 4 like very high quality defensive end players locked up under contract for next year. Now, pending the health of Michael and Bosa,
right,
both coming back from ACL tears, you're going to need another piece. Obviously, you probably want to retain Samo. I think paying him $5 million on the second round tender is probably worth your time.
Got to do it
because someone else is probably going to want to pay him.
Yeah,
because he's played well.
Yep.
And then we can talk about other positions, but you're gonna wide receivers very, very, very high.
Oh, yeah.
Tight end suddenly jumps.
We're not in a great spot on offense. You have a great quarterback. Everything else is just totally up in the air. I mean, even running back, you're like, well, Christian McCaffrey's like Christian McCaffrey.
No, you desperately need to draft another running back too,
if not 2.
Robinson's a free agent.
Yeah.
I don't know that you really care about bringing him back. He's not really an additive player.
Nope. No,
so,
there's a lot. We will get into all of that as the time comes. They have a playoff game. Any other notes that you had from the Eagles game that you want to make sure are on the record?
I mean, so many notes, but I was impressed with the coverage on the back end. I think obviously one thing, Bryce Huff was phenomenal in the run game.
Yes,
I mean, like truly phenomenal. At one point, split a double team and had a solo backfield stop on Saquon Barkley, where you're like, yeah, he is mad at Vic Fangio, so that'll take you places.
Just try to convince Bryce Huff that the Seattle Seahawks didn't want him in some way. Just do whatever you can to make Bryce Huff play angry because he was outstanding in the run game, and that is always going to be his downfall. So when he plays better in the run game than he does in the pass game, you have a good thing going. Would love to see that push and wiggle that he used to have on the outside, but like if you're gonna not get to the quarterback, make sure you're not getting beat in the run game. I thought Bryce Huff was really good, and we talked about it after the game. Can I also mention that Jake Brendel is on a heater again?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I thought he had some ugly moments, but like when it mattered down the stretch, he was blocking his ass off. There was one play towards the end of this game where it says 4:32 remaining, exquisite Brendel rep, where I think it's like a 9-yard McCaffrey run. And when he can get off on a double team, pass somebody off and get second level, like he is really, really damn good at that in the run game. And I would say Spencer Burford did not have his finest moments in this game. Also Colt McKivitz struggled at times. And also Trent Williams got beat pretty bad a couple times, but my God, for a guy with a barbecued hamstring,
awful.
What a game.
He said it was 75%. Like that's just him being a warrior.
37 years old with like a bad knee on a barbecued hamstring and just sheesh. By the way, we'll get to comments shortly.
I do want to add in, again, as I said earlier, 11 blitzes on pass plays in this game, including 6 on first and second down. Like that's Bob pushing it. So you get Kyle with trick plays. You got Bob pushing it. This is somewhat of what we were asking for. Like you got to throw caution to the wind a little bit.
Yeah. Last thing I do want to mention, I got to shout out Chris Furster, who said, Jalen Carter, not going to let you beat us, and double teamed him almost every snap. Every single one.
And he still almost did because he's just that good. He is he's a frightening man in a lot of capacities.
Yeah, which is why Burford didn't grade out all that well, because he was taking a lot of one-on-ones against Jordan Davis and Ajomo and tough players.
That is an exceptional defensive tackle unit, and again, they have a great corner. They have good linebackers. They have exceptional defensive tackles. You know, Phillips had a really nice game against McKivitz. Number 3, sorry, Nolan
Smith.
I thought had some good reps, especially late against Trent. But safeties are destiny, and I think it was even more clear in the All-22 that the Niners safeties, even with Malik Mustafa kind of winging it on a play-by-play basis, though he was a good blitzer early in this game, they had the better safeties than Reed Blankenship and Epps, who was I don't know what he was doing out there.
Yeah.
That was a tough
Blankenship had like a couple good plays, and then in the fourth quarter got destroyed.
Yeah, they started targeting him. And Pragmatic Kyle showing up in the fourth quarter of that game, I thought it was a very pragmatic attack plan. And, you know, a lot of other people have done the breakdown of the opposite side Texas route for Christian McCaffrey and how that relates to the touchdown that he scored against the Colts, where no linebacker came up to defend him. That is really good stuff. Not disparaging anybody for breaking that down. That's really good stuff. That's every fucking week. Every fucking week there's like 5 things like that that Kyle does. So when people say, oh, you know, he's running it too much, like it's very difficult unless you are taking comprehensive notes and referring them to each other to see like, oh, this is setting this stuff up, and that he is constantly probing while continuing to get his offense in position to move the ball 7, 8, 9 yards at a time. Like, and there's levels.
And literally running plays, even in playoff games where he's like, this probably isn't the best look, but I need to run this to run a better play later.
Yeah.
There's like an element of that, you know, some of that's insanity, and maybe you just try and run your best plays, but I think you need to have a bigger picture to say, we need to be able to set something up later in the game.
It's some real Doctor Strange stuff, says the man who never actually saw any of the Doctor Strange movies, but he's operating on dimensional levels that clearly our friend, our friend in Philly, who's been recently fired, who's
Tony Patullo, as Dieter called him.
Our friend Tony, not operating.
I think we're overdue for some comments here. Appreciate you folks.
Aren't we?
Let's start with Vice. If I was Kyle, I'd throw in Watkins and Cowing. That's as much speed at them as you can. Seattle doesn't have tape on them, so they'd never expect it. I am a little surprised Watkins was just inactive, but I think they said Malik Turner can play special teams.
He can.
And that dictated it. It feels like at this point, I don't think either of them are playing, but I do think those guys both have speed, and
that is factual.
Are lacking it. But I do think Pearsall, again, I said last week, I think Pearsall is going to play this week. We'll see, but I think he's going to play.
It's trending that way. I don't think he has much of a choice, as you properly laid out on Sunday. Jacob Cowing has not gone through a full speed practice this season. You're not playing him. Jordan Watkins has, and again, we're not in the business of giving benefit of the doubt here, but you don't think with all the shit that's gone down at the wide receiver position for the San Francisco 49ers and Kendrick Bourne still not knowing the plays in week 19, that if Watkins had anything to give them, that they would have tried it out by now in an earnest manner? Like, these guys see him at practice. Now, and they're keeping a guy in Siegel, who, by the way, has apparently been practicing great the whole time. They're keeping him down. Like, what are they doing with I don't think it's that situation.
I would push back a little bit and say that Kyle has an extraordinarily high bar for receivers.
Yeah.
And at this point in the year, it's like what he knows. And he knows Kendrick Bourne's going to fuck up. But he also like knows what Kendrick Bourne does, like when he knows the play, that he's going to do the right thing. And Watkins is sort of an unknown. And again, he's always hard on rookies, even when he really likes him at the wide receiver position. I still think they do like Watkins, and there was a lot, but he also dealt with a lot of injuries, and there's just not a level of trust there. Not that I would trust Kendrick Bourne, and I would prefer to have the speed of Watkins, but it's also blocking comes into play, and Bourne's a little bit of a bigger body, even though I've seen Watkins. Again, Again, I
You're
am
not
not a
wrong.
fan,
Yeah.
but I think that's what goes into it.
Especially too, they're going to be in tight formations this whole game. Though, actually, you know what? I don't know if that's the case because it was very evident in watching Week 18 as it unfolded that the way to beat them is to spread them out. And if you can beat them, is to spread them out and put guys like Imanwari in space. And maybe he still beats you there, probably does, but you go 4 wide, you go 5 wide, you go to empty stuff, and you motion running backs in. But I thought the fullback stuff with gap manipulation was just empty calories because they didn't care. They didn't respond to it. So you're not manipulating their adjustments. You're just running into a wall. And so, yeah, maybe Watkins does need to play because it would be him over Cowing at this point. Maybe Watkins does need to play just because you have another receiver, and Malik Turner hasn't had a catch in the NFL since 2021,
Right.
including a bad drop in this past game.
Right. And I think I do think if Gifford is up for that game, Turner probably doesn't play.
Right.
I think that's the calculation there of like you need a special teamer you trust.
Yeah.
So there's a route there, but then if Pearsall plays, I don't think Watkins plays either. So anyway,
we have
on.
also openly praised Malik Turner's special teams on this channel before. I think it was, what was it? Was it
made some great special teams plays. Maybe earlier in this year or last year.
He showed up against the Saints and was just like, hey,
with his oversized sleeves too.
There we go. Now we're talking. That's the kind of stuff I'm into.
Too Much Sauce 33. I don't know what happened to the other Too Much Sauces, but do you trust Eric Kendricks for the next 3 games? Probably not, but what other choice do you have? And also, I liked a lot of what I saw, and he's fresh. So, do I fully trust what the Eric Kendricks experience is going to be? No. But like on the scale of like what I trust with this Niners defense over the last 2 months, yeah, I'd say I sort of trust him.
He's the second best middle linebacker they've had. 1 game, simple scheme, but he looked way better than Tatum Bethune looked, and he's bigger than Tatum Bethune, which is saying something. Yeah, again, you don't have any other choice. Fred could come back, this and that. Like, I am of the mindset that, like, as cool as that could be, one, you're not sure if that's Fred Warner. Right? Like he might wear 54 and
people talk about Quan Alexander coming back, and Alexander looked like shit. Like,
right.
They're like, remember when Quan did that? He was terrible. Like there was an energy level to that, but I don't know.
So again, if he's out there, he looks great, all that stuff. That's just a huge win. First off, you've already beaten the Seahawks, so you're just riding the highest of highs. And then you probably get the Rams. Though who knows? Maybe the Bears again. Then we wouldn't have to do any tape analysis again. It'd be great. But I am, you have to go with Kendricks. And this isn't to say that, it was just the Eagles. Like, that's a playoff team. And what he did at the linebacker spot, shedding blocks, great gap filling.
He turns his hips and runs in coverage. Really good stuff.
Great in coverage. He's always been a great coverage linebacker. He played weak side linebacker for a long time. I thought he was an exceptional Mike in this game. And it was the closest we've seen to Fred, knowing that there is eons of space.
Levels.
That's the closest we've seen to Fred since Fred and the communication stuff. So do I trust him? Yeah. Of all the options you have available to you, far and away, Eric Kendricks is the best one.
Vincent, is it too optimistic of an assumption to think Kendricks and Wallow could be enough of a defensive improvement to make Darnold see ghosts and be the difference maker in winning? Interesting question. Like, I think I don't necessarily think they need to be outrageous. Like, I think they need to be good, but I think it's Darnold gets in his own head. If he gets confused at all, if Bob mixes it up, maybe throws more. I do wonder if like the man coverage, and it's not to say he used an insane amount, but it did seem like more. I wonder if using more of that messes with Darnold. There was also a delayed blitz where Stout got home, and it was like cover 0. Or it was either cover 0. I think it was cover 1. It was cover 1, and Stout blitzed late from a weird depth, and I didn't really like it, but it kind of worked because they had the whole right side of the progression covered off, and then the timing got home. Stuff like that where Darnold's not comfortable with it, not used to it, and people just execute their assignment well. I think that's going to be more than them like playing out of their gourd. That said, they probably do need them to play out of their gourd
Yeah.
to win this game because they have almost everything stacked against them.
Let's be clear about who they're going up against. Yes, it's Sam Darnold, and that is not the toughest assignment in and of itself. But you're also going up against Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's going to be his first read on every play. And you're going up against Clint Kubiak, who has some serious warts as an offensive coordinator. I've complained about some of the stuff that he's done for a long time, but he was a step ahead of Saleh on every snap in Week 18, and he's a Kubiak. His entire life, I mean, the family crest to Kubiaks is we're here to ruin linebackers' lives, which, again, I don't think that Patullo even understood the concept of a linebacker for the Eagles. Like, what did they do to manipulate linebackers in that game? Nothing. They're running hitch routes. They don't have cover 4 beaters.
No,
So
there's no plan.
right. So this is going to be a more targeted attack, but from what I saw in the somewhat, schematic vacuum that was the Eagles offense versus the Niners defense last week, those guys can play. They might lose you the game, but they can also win you the game, which is more than you could say for late-stage D. Winters and post-injury Tatum Bethune, who I think because there was no other option, we maybe gave a little bit too much deference to. Winters in particular, I was a little bit too kind to.
I think since the injury,
But Bethune was... Once you watch Curtis Robinson, everyone looks better. So, it's just expectations versus reality. But, Kubiak's going to go after him. He's going to go after him. These guys do have the ability to make that backfire. And Darnold, much like in this game, right? So Bob goes in and he says, okay, we're not going to do right corner, left corner. We're doing field side boundary. And we're going to dare many times on both a tactical and macro level, like we're going to dare Jalen Hurts to be a good quarterback and beat us. But how we're going to do that is we're going to make sure that the big side of the field side, is well covered, and then we're going to leave Lenore over here on the boundary side so that he can help him with run stuff. But we're going to try to take away the first read for Jalen Hurts. And it worked a lot, and it particularly worked late. The same thing you can do again against Sam Darnold. The challenge is he has a better coordinator who's going to give him better first reads than Kevin Patullo ever did. So, yes, I think that those two guys can do it. I was in particular kind of wowed with how good Walla was in this game, and Kendrick's very clear communicator, very good coverage man, and really punched above his weight in the run game.
Yep. Seamus, thank you for the quid. Hey guys, love the show. Is there going to be another draft guide this year? We are working through what we're going to put out. There will be something. I don't know whether it will be as robust because it almost killed me.
There will be absolutely something. It might be members only videos. That would be the draft guide. Very long videos that are film heavy. It could be an actual document again. There's going to be something.
The thing is, once I start committing to like a full thing, I don't have it in me to do like a shorty, like a little short version.
Yeah.
Which the point is, if there's going to be like a draft guide, it's going to be a full-on thing.
Yep.
And it's going to take up most of my life. Now, there will be 100% draft content.
Oh, yeah.
The 49er season is going on, and last year it was over. So we got to get a jump on it early. So we'll have less time, and we're both trying to figure out exactly how much we can commit to it. So we don't promise you something we can't do. But there will be stuff. There will be plenty of draft stuff. It's just what form does it take? Not quite certain yet.
And it will be very focused towards the members. So if you want the really good draft stuff, that's where you get your membership bang for the buck. It might not be the exact same form. It might be in a new, different 2026 edition.
That's right. James, tell Siegel not to park in solid spot ever again.
Stop dating your daughter. It feels like there's something there. And again, my understanding was that it was a communication thing. Jair takes that spot almost directly after Fred goes down for the year. And I think that they were already having some problems in communicating in the secondary, so they kind of leaned on that. And then Jair did do a very good job in run stopping and covering the flat. And there was a stretch there, I would say, up until well, post the Panthers game, maybe even the Browns game, I thought he was okay in. But they get to the bye, and you're like, okay, yeah, that was a good decision. Like things worked out okay. And then after the bye, it just all went to hell because get this, I mean, even Tennessee's like, this guy sucks. We're gonna go right at him.
Yep.
And they did. And the Colts, my God, what the Colts did to him.
My God. Vincent this is sort of a question we kind of answered already. I've been debating people on who's more likely to play this year, Cowing or Watkins. Again, I think we'd both say Watkins at this point.
I'd give Watkins a 25% chance and Cowing a 5% chance.
That sounds about right.
Cool.
JC, the difference this week from week 18, maybe the 3 fresh body defenders, Kendricks, Wallow, Siegel. Difference makes no sense, but I love the ride. Yeah, I think Siegel made a major difference in that second half. I also think the emergence of West and the improvement of Collins, while not necessarily disruptive at every play, his level of size and stoutness, it matters. It matters against double teams and just how teams can move their front and just take up space.
Makes linebackers' lives a lot easier. I'll also add in a difference is that was Seattle's best defensive shot. They played an impeccable defensive game. And the fall off from that is still more than good enough to win. But that was a game that had no business being that close with that kind of defensive performance, with that kind of offensive domination when we talk about yardage and stuff. Niners, in a weird way, right? Like Niners haven't lost back-to-back games this year. Because this is a back-to-back game for Seattle, does that kind of qualify? I know that they just beat the Eagles.
Oh, interesting.
But like the Niners have done an exceptional job in responding to losses. And, you know, Michael Jordan in the chair, Last Dance, taking it personally. It does feel like, okay, they watch that back. They're really good at correcting errors. I don't know what more Seattle has to offer. I do think that the Niners have a lot more to offer than they presented in Week 18, even without George Kittle. And we saw them move the ball pretty well for 2-3 series. So, yeah, I have to really get into that tape again just to kind of look at it from that vantage point. Like, hey, what is it that the Niners missed on? Like, what were their opportunities that they didn't take advantage of? There's not going to be a lot of them, but they were there. And again, I do like this kind of pragmatic caution to the wind Kyle and a more aggressive Bob who, what do they have to lose? I think everything at this point for this team is gravy. If they lose to the Seahawks this week, there's no rational person who's like, oh, what a garbage season.
Right.
Like you're down Bosa, you're down Warner for at least now, you're down
it's
Kittle.
A competitive game that's really impressive. And I think it will be.
I think it will be too.
I think it will be. Run the ball, Kyle, says, how does Marcus Robinson's emergence affect the Niners game plan versus Seattle? What round would you take a tight end in the draft, or would you go after Pitts? This is a very Eric Branch approach.
Love it.
Got to say, hey, I've got
Flood the zone.
got a question. Except it would take a lot longer to get out. Love Eric.
Yeah.
First one, how does DeMarcus Robinson's emergence affect the Niners game plan versus Seattle? I think it means Seattle has to account for him more as like, hey, we have to prepare that like the last time we played them, they didn't really lean on him very much.
No.
And if we're going to play man, I have to know that he might give us a little rocker step, a little hesitation, especially on in-breaking routes. And he's not. And if you're going to shade any direction, make him beat you to the boundary, make him beat you to the sidelines. So that's more of the Seattle game plan, but I would expect the Niners still have him semi-regularly involved, though I don't have the same feeling I had where he's going to, have a dominant performance.
It's a fundamental shift in the last time they played, because the last time they played, as I've said before, they had Ricky Pearsall in the game plan. And Ricky Pearsall didn't even try to go that day. They didn't change the game plan. So, and I noted this before the Eagles game, the big difference, it's going to be hard to win without a man beater, but the big difference is they know they don't have Pearsall. So what did they do? They're just like, I guess we're going to try to run a bunch of man-to-man stuff with DeMarcus Robinson, and it worked out. It did. They went at Quinion Mitchell like 8 times with them. It worked. Not always, In fact, once very clearly not. But like that is the big difference. So having Robinson as a third receiver, or maybe it's just one more viable option that you need, given that you no longer have Kittle as a viable option. Though that said, every time Kittle was out, Jake Tonjes was just an absolute man. He just
That's right.
can't stop him. Ross Dwelly died so he can get it. What round would you take a tight end in the draft? Jake and I actually literally had this argument earlier today.
Yes. I would not take a tight end round 1. I would consider it pretty much every round after that. It's just too expensive for a tight end. Like, even if it's like an outrageous tight end, the cost of free agent tight ends makes it so that a first round usage, I mean, if it's late first round, it's different. But if you're anywhere, in the 20s or above, like it starts to become comparison. So I would say day 2 and on. But if you took him in round 2, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I would say earlier rather than later. I think that their two most glaring needs going into this offseason are wide receiver and tight end. So they should take the best available player. They're still in a position where they can get away with that. Money is available for them to sign free agents. Don't love the way that they've signed any tight end. Tonjes has been the best second tight end they've had since they drafted Kittle. I mean, sorry to Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly, but I feel that way. So Jordan Reed, maybe those fleeting 3 games.
Yeah, they've been so bad at replacing tight ends. It's been
right. So I would. How about this? I would try to get one early. I want the kid from Oregon, Sadiq. I think that would be your best option. Let's also not forget, George Kittle's coming off an Achilles injury. That's a very serious injury, and he's like 32 years old. As a tight end,
get an athlete. I don't care what it is. Get a top tier athlete. Get a 90th plus percentile tight end. Even because at the tight end position, it doesn't really seem to matter too much. If you're actually good at playing tight end sometimes, like I think you need to have a willingness to block, a general level of aggression, particularly in the 49ers scheme. That for me, that's a prerequisite. But like, don't just draft a player because they like know how to play the position. Like, get someone who's a freak. You need that.
That's how you got George Kittle in the first place. You had very little tape. You just took the freak. You taught the freak how to play football. Turned out he was a Hall of Famer. Would you go after Pitts? Yes. I'd go after Njoku. I'd go after Pitts. I'd go after top of the market at tight end this upcoming free agent cycle. That said, I don't think that Pitts is getting out of Atlanta. I think he'll get franchise tagged because it'd be foolish of them not to do that.
Yeah, I don't think they can really let him go.
But good question, all 3 of them.
Gray Fox coming in. Wow.
Hey, now, Gray Fox.
With all these head coach vacancies, I can only say one. Jim Schwartz as our DC is inevitable. Love it. Absolutely love it. My question is, he's still under contract with the Browns, I believe. So
that doesn't really apply if your head coach gets fired, though, right?
I know, but he's so valuable to them. Do they let him leave? And or does he force his way out? I would say if Saleh,
I would just hire him as their head coach. Like,
I mean,
they should. They should. He's the one good thing they have in their building. Like,
they should.
And then let him pick, whichever Kubiak is still hanging around. Unborn Kubiak. You're now the offensive coordinator. Like, I don't know, but like, yeah, I would just make
one coaching high school football, or maybe that's the one they have on staff. Who knows?
I'm just
There's
saying,
always another Kubiak.
There's always another Kubiak. I would hire that guy who runs the go-go offense at the college. Just hire somebody. Just have a offensive coordinator. But yeah, I would just let Jim Schwartz be my head coach. But it's the Browns, and they're incompetent. And I think that the thumbnail that I put in our post-Browns game analysis, I don't remember if you were here for that or not, Jake, which was Kyle and Schwartz hugging at midfield, and I just put soon on the top, is going to age very, very well. Yeah. I'll tell you this. Full stop. Robert Saleh absolutely probably is going to be offered multiple head coaching jobs this cycle. I do not know if he'll take it. I think he's making about $4 or $5 million. He was still getting paid a certain amount by the Jets this year. I don't know if there were offsets or not. But he could decide, hey, the Raiders is the spot for me, or Baltimore or Pittsburgh. Like, hell yeah, Robert Saleh, of course. But in that same realm, the first call is to Jim Schwartz. And if you have to buy him out, you buy him out. So be it. But Jim Schwartz is the DC if Robert Saleh leaves. I think that the wheels have already been in motion about that.
I'm with you. All right, we got about, let's say, 3 more.
Okay, that
Three
sounds
more.
good. Good stream today.
So yeah, thank all of you. Nevin, sure you'll handle this in a podcast, but what do you think was your biggest draft guide miss last year? I just was going through and looking at my top 150, feeling pretty good about it. It's also like some guys, the guys that like I was high on that didn't work out, like Vernon Broughton, injured very early in the year.
Can't hold that against you.
Or like the wide receiver, Trey Harris, who like kind of came on later for the Chargers, but like is in a pretty crowded wide receiver room. Off the top of my head, maybe like, I mean, he also got injured, but like Jalen Conyers, who I was incredibly high on at tight end, but like went undrafted. We'll see, but he's on injured reserve. But I would say that one, I was incredibly high on him, and he has not panned out yet.
Shador. Probably Shador. Loveland.
Yeah, Loveland, I would agree. I'm still not fully sold on his blocking as much, but yeah, I think we were lower on Loveland than we probably should have been. And Anthony, yeah, I'm still a Max Brosmer guy at heart, but yikes.
Yeah. Listen, there are misses. I think we got way more right, and I was
looking at our list at my top 150, and I felt pretty damn good about it.
Yeah,
in hindsight.
I mean, especially too. I mean, if nothing else for like fantasy football purposes, like I think you would have rather had both of the running backs that we liked over Ashton Genty.
Oh, and what's his
Henderson.
name? Caleb Johnson, who people were like, yeah, he's a round 2 player. Nope. He was my 151st player on the board.
Yeah,
round 5, and I still felt like, that might be a little high. I hated him.
You really did. Yeah, there's going to be some stuff wrong, unquestionably, but I do think that the ones that we got right, we got very right, and the ones that we faded, I think really held up. I think that might be the thing that stood out. I haven't been able to pull it up because I somehow lost it in my folders, but like the guys that we faded to a lot of consternation and commentary from outside sources, the hive mind, aged very well. We look very smart, which is a hard thing for us to do.
That's awesome. All right. A couple more. Real Griff asking a really important question. Should the Steelers and Jets try and pick up Jennings in the offseason as a quarterback, since everything I can't think of a better place for Juwan Jennings to play than Pittsburgh. By the way, if he's going to leave, just in terms of like brutal, slow, hard, physical games, he is like a working class Pittsburgh sort of player.
Yeah. Just absolutely batshit insane, but they cover up for it. I'll add one more to you, Real Griff. 49ers should bring in Justin Fields as a wide receiver.
Love it.
You know that backup running back spot that's a problem for them? Have I got one for you, Justin Fields?
Now we're cooking.
T. Martin kick returner.
This is a silly question. From Gold Rush, word on the street is Pearsall is getting traded. I don't know who the word
No. Okay, so here's how that happens.
Okay.
Word on the street is Dieter and Larry had a conversation publicly, and then that gets... So we don't aggregate anything anymore because no one writes words. So we just take an idea, which, by the way, you and I had 4 or 5 weeks ago, which was Brian Thomas Jr. for Ricky Pearsall straight up.
I don't remember us. I thought.
I had that conversation with somebody. I'm pretty sure it was you, but that's okay.
I don't know.
So
it was for somebody else. It was like Brian Thomas Jr. for someone else. There was like a Trevor Lawrence element to it.
There was a lot. That was a different conversation about Trevor Lawrence. That one aged very poorly, by the way. But it is. Listen, Pearsall is. There's some weirdness around that situation right now. That weirdness could very well go away with a great game on Saturday. So
sure.
The rumors are baseless speculation from your boy off of, well, it's not baseless. I have some general weird vibes, but that's not like there's that common conversation happening. So it wouldn't shock me if Pearsall got traded at the
I
same
would be
time.
shocked. I
Okay.
think it's idiotic. I think people saying move on from him don't understand the finances of how the NFL works and the
To
fact
whom?
that you have
Yeah.
him locked up. People are like, just move on. I get being exhausted with injuries, right? Let's not forget the man was shot, so
Yeah.
that was sort of out of his control. Not pretty tough injury. Come back from, came back, played well down the stretch last year. Has been very good when he has played. Should you be frustrated by the injuries? No question about it.
Yeah.
Does cutting a player or trading him for nothing because he has injury issues make any sense at all? No, none whatsoever, especially when he's on a rookie deal for another 2 years. You can control him, not just franchise tag him, but pick up his 5th-year option,
Right.
trade him if you want. I get being frustrated. Should they draft another wide receiver? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should you put all your eggs in the Ricky Pearsall basket that he's going to be your wide receiver 1? You can't because he's not healthy.
Right.
Is he a great player when he's healthy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with all of that. I'm saying, again, if the Jaguars want to move on from Brian Thomas and the 49ers maybe don't know if Ricky Pearsall has the right stuff.
And Brian Thomas does?
Well, it's a problem for a problem. It's a Wiggins for D'Angelo Russell trade. Like,
I
don't think they'll
know.
do it. I was just merely suggesting that that's something that they could entertain given the peculiarity around the situation currently and some conversations that have been had about certain aspects. And so that's all it is. But the word on the street is not that they're going to trade him. The word on the street is they're not too thrilled with the way that this has gone down the last couple of weeks. And if you want to extrapolate that to trade, as I have, fair play.
I'm not even going to pull up that last comment. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Don't understand.
I know. Here's the thing. Pull it up because I know the source of this. I know the source of it. That's not a viable source for something like that. I'm not going to speak it, but it's not a viable source.
Yeah,
Very good in a lot of things, not this sort of thing.
I just think it doesn't make any sense for a team that is desperate for wide receivers to trade a wide receiver who has played very well when he has been healthy and also suffered a knee injury that PCLs are extremely nagging. That is like the nature
I seem to remember a certain somebody who was shut down for an entire year last year because of a PCL injury. Oh, right. Christian McCaffrey. But they should have traded him this past offseason, right?
It's also an incredibly tough position to make cuts with a knee injury. Should you be frustrated? Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think moving on from him makes a lick of sense whatsoever going into year 3.
I think Griff nailed it. I think he gets another year. And you see, and if it's another injury-filled year, then you don't pick up the 5th-year option. And you figure it out from there. You're going to need to draft a wide receiver that can replace him or sign one. Hey, that's an idea. You're going to have another wide receiver who can reasonably step in as an X on a down-by-down basis for long stretches at a time. This probably informs very heavily what they do with Juwan Jennings this offseason, which is an interesting conversation for when it happens. Their wide receiver situation is not ideal. And by the way, a year ago they paid someone $30 million to hold down that spot, and here we are.
Not great.
Not great.
You know what is great? All you folks.
Yeah.
Join us today. We'll be back on Thursday to actually look at tape that we've just very recently watched, and I appreciate it. Really appreciate that.
It's cool that one, we don't have to be crazy about it, and two, we can watch it with very specific intent. Like, where are the holes? How do you actually beat these guys? And that will be interesting because I'm not sure we're going to find something on that defense. I'm not sure. All right.
Nor am I.
Should we call it, Jake?
I think
Let's
we should.
Talk to you guys on
folks.
Thursday.